This picture of a Renaissance man sort of begins to come out for me. You know, football, property, but culture as well, because you know some of the people who've seen success in football have been part of the investment in culture. Do you think there's a link in the end between sport and culture, or is it not irrelevant?
There is a link. I mean, I suppose in terms of property development, you're going to live or die by the selection of the property that you pick, or the selection of the land. In football and sport, it's about the selection of the players, and your transfer market is almost your property market in some ways. Who's giving you, who's your information coming from? What deal is there to be done? What property should you buy? And I like, for me, in terms of there's no specific type of deals that I will say I have to do that type of deal. I just have to. I like the instinctive feel of a deal, and I like to do things quickly. And for me, there is that link between business and sport. The teamwork that's required in all the offices in the country is required in football. Where spirit fails, where bosses don't communicate to their employees, it's the same in football, where you say they've left the dressing room. Right. Well, you've seen that probably in workplaces where managers and, Sir Alex Ferguson would speak to every single player every time he left them out. So if he changed the game, and he changed the team a lot. So Saturday,
too much on
sometimes, but Saturday to Wednesday to Saturday, if he left 5 players out on one game, then brought 4 back in, he would spend time with every single player to explain to them why they weren't playing. And people say, well, how did he control that dressing room? How did he keep 24 people happy when he could only pick 11? Because he communicated with them. Right. People don't communicate that much, generally. They don't actually speak to their employees every single day and let them know how they're doing or ask what they're doing in their family life. He knew everything about each player's family, everything about the under-9s, the 10s, the 11s. He would meet with them, the parents. When I signed 25 years ago, we were brought in to meet Sir Alex Ferguson with my parents, with my sister, with my brother, and he paid attention to that. And the small things that I'm not sure happen in every single workplace, and it's the fall down in football and in business at times, that leadership, but it's just normal qualities.
I cite his books as the biggest influence on my management style. Would you say that what he's taught you as if...
Are you angry as well?
Very.
Yeah, look, it was simple. It was simple management. It wasn't rocket science. He was brave. He was a decision maker. He was decisive, and you need to be decisive, obviously, if you're a boss. So those things he had: determination and work rate, getting in at 6 o'clock in the morning. I always tell the story. In 2009, we'd lost the Champions League final on the Wednesday, and me and Giggsy and I can't remember who else it was, were travelling to Lilleshall to do our A licence coaching on the Sunday morning, close season. And we had to meet at Lilleshall at 8 o'clock. So literally at 6 o'clock in the morning, we drove to the training ground to get our boots on the way because we had to pick them up. And there's only one light on in the building. It's his office. Incredible work rate, and that was into his, I would imagine then he'd been late 60s at the time. Incredible work rate. Never thought he would retire. But those qualities, like I say, the best bosses and the best, you've got to work hard, and that was his biggest team talk. Or the thing that he said most in his team talks was about working hard and simple things.
I actually think there's a real comparison between Howard Bernstein's management style and Alex Ferguson's, but perhaps that's for another day. You talk in that Property Week article, you talked about a real sense of optimism in your businesses. I mean, looking at the economics of this, do you think, from what you're doing, can you say that we're definitively in a period of, is the recession really behind us from as far as you can see?
I think it is. I think people are definitely a lot more optimistic, even in the sort of 8 hours I've been here. But generally, you just know, don't you? You just can tell around the city, everybody's a lot more vibrant than they were 2 or 3 years ago. But even though there was a recession and times it did get difficult, and I never felt Manchester lost its heart, and I never felt that, the biggest problem was that I found, particularly in the consultancy side of things, was that you had to let people go, and you have to lose jobs. And I remember, particularly in the M&E consultancy, when it all started to go wrong, we suffered actually because we were loyal and we kept our staff on. And you could argue business-wise we suffered, but morally and psychologically, the idea that you just bin people is probably what you maybe have to do eventually, and it's unfortunate, but you have to try and give them time to come out of it. And that was probably the most painful thing that I found, the fact that you were telling people who had families that basically there was no longer a position for them, having given it a year, and people saying, well, it'll come out of it next year, and it'll come out of it in 6 months, and it'll be back again. But I think generally now, we as a consultancy, we're starting to employ again, and things are picking up. see cranes again.
Yeah, the crane count's going up. I think the
things are happening.
That optimism is something that we've heard all week, and I think it's something that you're echoing very strongly. Just one last question before we go to our quick fire round for the questions that came via Twitter and email. Do you think your personal fame is a help or a hindrance in this property game?
Can be both. Can be both.
A bit more?
People always want to tell you things, but I never want to believe a word anybody says. And I don't believe a word anybody tells me. I always say why, or I don't believe people when they tell me something. That's the first port of call. And then once they've proven it, I believe it. Even in design, if somebody says to me that's the best place to put a staircase, I'll say why. Why? Tell me why. And if they can justify it, then it goes in there. If they can't, start stuttering, they've lost, haven't they? So for me, to me, I think it can help with certain things, and I think sometimes it can hinder. I'm trying to give specific examples of where it would help and where it would hinder.
Well, I think it's helped in one sense in that you've clearly drawn a very large audience for this. Anyway, listen, time's running short. So what we did was we asked followers on Twitter to tweet or send emails in with some questions. And so what I want is, just to finish off, because we're nearly out of time, is just some very quick answers to some questions. Okay. You ready? Who's going to win the league?
I said City certainly up until 2 months ago, but if you ask me now, I'd say Chelsea. Okay.
Is the best United can hope for Thursday nights on Channel 5?
That's the worst they can hope for.
Yeah, I feel
that's the thing they don't want.
Back to that Property Week article. What's your favourite building in Manchester?
The library.
Central Library, good choice. You described some of the 60s and 70s buildings in Manchester as eyesores. Did you have a particular one in mind?
Not particularly, no. I bought this flat roof 60s, 70s prefab pub in Swinton. Do you know them prefab pubs, them flat single story ones? Oh my God. I don't know why I bought that. I'm still stuck with it. Does anybody want it? It's terrible, honestly. And I knocked it down. I couldn't even look at it anymore, so it's just a flat piece of land now. Don't worry, you won't have to pay the demolition bill.
Very good. What Manchester developments are you looking at with most interest? Besides your own, of course.
Yeah, my own. I'm actually building an apartment in the Jordan Street. I want an apartment back in Manchester. That's the one that's exciting me most. It's a small thing, but for me, I want an apartment in Manchester. And that excites me. Even those personal ones still excite me as much as the sort of bigger ones. I suppose, I don't know, the Spinningfields, I think, is sensational for Manchester. I really do. I think that it's fantastic. I suppose in the last 10 years, that's a huge achievement. So more things like that really are. They do change the whole environment of the city and the way in which it looks and becomes a modern...
It's a statement.
Yeah, it's a massive statement. And just the eating experiences around there now and obviously everything's just getting better and it's lifting the profile and the quality. The quality is important and like I said, so that's a fantastic development.
Okay, back to football. Best England manager ever?
Ever?
Ever.
Well, it would have to be Sir Alf Ramsey, even though I didn't know him, but my personal favourite out of the ones I had was Terry Venables. Euro 96, we should have won that tournament, by the way.
Yeah. I think we'd all agree with that. Well, most of us anyway.
We should have won it.
England in the World Cup? How are we going to do?
Is that a one-word answer? Do you know something? I'm excited, you know.
Right.
You might not be.
I think that's pretty clear.
No, I mean, I am excited because, you know, last week for 20 minutes when Lallana, Shaw, Oxlade-Chamberlain, Welbeck, Sturridge, Sterling, they're all on that pitch together for about 20 minutes. And I was watching it thinking, this is good. I'm sick of people telling us we haven't got good young football players, that we don't produce this, we don't produce that. We always put ourselves down. I think it's not a Manchester thing, it's an English thing. But we have got talent.
Perhaps no expectations have fallen sufficiently that we can exceed them.
But we have to create the pathway for talent, not just in football, but everywhere. And I think that for me, you know, watching those lads last week play against Denmark, you know, you might argue watching the game is a little bit slow for 60 minutes, but that's friendly football, that's internationals. But actually for 15, 20 minutes watching that game, I was excited, and I'm excited about seeing them perform as young players, knowing that they're going to grow and develop and perform, because that's what I believe in. I was given an opportunity, along with 5 or 6 other lads at the age of 18, 19, by what's probably one of the greatest managers of all time. He didn't need to. He could have spent some money, but he didn't do. He gave young people a chance. and that's how you develop. And for me, that is critically important. That's what excites me, the fact that we have got some real good young talent.
Okay, right. 3 very quick questions to answer.
One word, that.
Which do you prefer, property or punditry?
Are they comparable?
Well, you're doing both.
I love watching football, so I love football. But I love actually being in Manchester, because I go into the office, and I know I'm going home in the evening. I love the idea. I know people will say it's 9 till 5, but I love it. I absolutely love it, and it excites me going in there, whether it's 7 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon to pick the kids up, or whether it's from 9 till 6 or whatever it is. I love the idea of having meetings with the architects or with the project teams that we have in the office. I love the idea of it. It excites me. It stimulates me. And I think when you're a football player and you've played at Manchester United and you've walked out that tunnel for 20 years of your life, it's difficult to replace that. You know, you've had that almost constant adrenaline rush. And the idea now that I'm still as happy now as I was when I played football, it's difficult for a football player actually to contend with, because actually the high that you have, particularly what we had, playing for a team we loved, winning the things we won,
extraordinary,
was absolutely incredible. So actually the fact that I'm still as happy to go into an office, which would seem to be I never feel it's mundane, I never feel it's boring. And to me, so I like both, and I love both equally, but I love football, and I love going into the office and doing things.
But would you rather be in a suit or a pair of shorts right now?
A suit.
Ooh, there we go.
A suit.
You've crossed to the dark side.
No, I've not played football since Paul Scholes' testimonial. It was such an embarrassing experience. I mean, my last few games for United were shocking, but then
I remember one in particular.
Yeah, Stoke and West Brom. Yeah. I made average players look like world beaters. I thought my time's up, and I played in Paul Scholes' testimonial for 20 minutes, and it's painful. And I thought, I'm not playing again. And I don't want to play football. I've got no interest in playing football at all. If you said to me tomorrow, go and have a kickabout, I wouldn't want to do it. And that's strange for someone who lived his life just kicking footballs hundreds of times a day. But I don't want to do that. I'd rather be in a suit, either watching a game or having meetings and doing things like that. I've moved on. My life's changed.
And finally, where would you rather be, Manchester or Cannes? Manchester.
Gary
Neville, thank you very much.
I'd rather be Manchester.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Cheers. And just to finish our week at MIPIM, can I ask Howard to just say a few closing words?
As I say, really, really impressive guy. Thanks very much indeed. Luke, that's the end of our formal programme for MIPIM. I hope all of you have found it helpful. I know there's been a constant stream of people through this wonderful space over the last 3 or 4 days. Some people have gone home, but thankfully still a lot of people still here. 2 points from me. Thank you for your support. I think what we've tried to do these last few days is not give you the standard marketing pitch about a city. I think what we've also tried to do is give real stimulation in the way in which places like Manchester can grow and the contribution places like Manchester can make to regional and national growth. I think the second message is to thank so many people, too many people I think to be able to do it here. But the Marketing Manchester team, led by Drew and Rachel, in particular, they have done a fantastic job, I think, to keep this show on the road and to get us here. They've still got to get us back, of course, tomorrow. But a huge thank you to them. And again, a huge thank you to all of you for making this week so special for Manchester. Thanks very much indeed.